You know, when you're reading an ancient text and you hit a long family tree, it can feel like a total wall of unpronounceable names. It's so easy to just tune out. But what if I told you that buried inside one of these lists is an incredible story of faith, of struggle, and even survival? Well, today we're going to crack open one of the most overlooked genealogies to find the legacy that's been hiding in the list all along. So let's start right there. What are these things really? Are they just a record of who came from who, or is there something more going on? Well, we're about to find out that these ancient lists are way less like a phone book and a whole lot more like a treasure map. Okay, so at first glance, this is exactly what we expect, right? Just a dense, almost impossible list of names. Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, Shubal, and it just keeps on going. It's really easy to feel your eyes glazing over, but seriously, stick with me because the author of this list has hidden some amazing narrative gems right here in plain sight. I want you to think of this chapter not really as a list, but more like a map. It's a map of the identity of the tribe of Judah, which was one of the most important tribes in ancient Israel. It lays out all the clans, the families, the key people that define them. But, you know, like any good map, some landmarks are just way more interesting than others. So right in the middle of all these begats and these lineages, the author just hits the pause button. For one person, Jabez. And the text tells us, straight up, he was more honourable than his brothers. Now that is a huge signpost. The writer is basically shouting, hey, pay attention, this guy is different. And the reason he gets this special treatment isn't because of who his father was or who his kids were. Nope, it's because of a single, really powerful prayer. This little mini-story, it's only 2 verses long, is our first big clue that this chapter is so much more than a family tree. It's a record of faith in action. And the prayer itself, it's incredibly bold. Jabez asks for 4 very specific things: a blessing, more land or influence, for God to be with them, and for protection from harm. What's really amazing here is that his name literally means pain, and here he is, asking God to free him from the very thing that defines his name. And then the story just ends with this simple, incredibly powerful sentence. Boom, that's it. No debate, no strings attached. God heard his prayer and gave him what he asked for. This tiny little story, this really bright moment of individual faith, is just tucked away in the middle of this giant family chronicle. But the story here isn't just about exceptional people like Jabez. This map of names also gives us a kind of blueprint for an entire society. And it's not just about kings and warriors, it's about the everyday people who actually made the kingdom run. So we see these simple family structures laid out again and again, like with Shubal and his descendants right here. This is the basic building block of the whole list. But when you start to look closer at the descriptions of some of these families, a really fascinating picture of an entire economy starts to emerge. And what this reveals is we're not just looking at a list of aristocrats. The text mentions the Valley of Craftsmen, and it specifically calls out clans of linen workers and potters. But that last detail is the real kicker. They stayed there and worked for the king. This is like a snapshot of a specialized, organized workforce that's contributing directly to the royal economy. Okay, so we've got Judah as this established society with faith and skilled labor. But then the map kind of zooms out and the author pivots to a totally different tribe, Simeon. And their story, while it introduces the central conflict of this entire genealogy, the struggle for resources and the desperate need to survive. And right here, the tension becomes crystal clear. On one side, you have Judah, this powerful tribe we've just seen detailed out with all its workers and clans. And on the other, you have Simeon. The text makes a point of saying their population just wasn't keeping up with Judah's. This pressure, this demographic pressure, is the engine for all the action that comes next. So what do you do when your population is booming, but your land isn't? You gotta move. The Simeonites, whose leaders are all listed by name, began a search for new pastures to support their growing families and all their flocks. This isn't some random story of conquest. It's a story born out of pure necessity. The text lays out their entire campaign in this clear, step-by-step story. First, they scouted the land around a place called Gedor. Then, they found the jackpot. Rich, spacious, peaceful land. The only problem was, it was already occupied. So, they attacked the Hamites living there, destroyed them completely, and took the land for themselves. Because, as the text says, there was pasture for their flocks. But their expansion, it didn't stop there. Another group, a team of 500 Simeonites, pushed even further. And this number gives us a sense of scale. We're not talking about a massive army here, but a really determined band of pioneers, or soldiers, pushing deep into new territory. This shows us that this wasn't just some one-and-done raid. It was a multi-pronged, ongoing effort by the whole tribe to secure a future, even if that meant violently carving out a new home. And notice the contrast, right? Jabez prayed to enlarge his territory, and God granted it. The Simeonites saw land they needed, and they took it by force. So let's pull all of this back together. We started with what looked like a really dry, boring list of names, but hidden inside it, we found the incredible story of Jabez, his personal faith, we found a detailed snapshot of Judah's complex society, and we found the dramatic story of Simeon's desperate struggle for survival. It's pretty clear this was never just a list. As we close these ancient records, we see that the names in these lists are more than ink on parchment. They are a call to action. They remind us that our legacy is written in the moments we cry out for blessing, the skill we bring to our labor, and the courage we show in seeking new horizons. Like Jabez, may you find the strength to pray for your territory to be enlarged, and like the potters of Judah, may your work always be worthy of a king. For a legacy is not just where you come from, it is the honorable path you choose to walk today.